Hey everybody, I'm Sam Gross from electricbikereport.com, and we're here at day 3 of the Big Gear Show in Park City, Utah, and I've got Spinks, the Director of Brand and Product Development for QuietKat e-bikes, and he is going to tell us a little bit about their Apex electric mountain bike, and this is a hardtail. So tell us a little bit more about this bike.
Yeah, so the Apex is our top of the line hardtail model. So what you're going to find here is all the things that you would expect from a QuietKat, all the big utility in the hardtail version. So you're still going to get a fat tire setup for a variety of terrain. You're going to get that nice stiff inverted fork for all that control and comfort. You have your hydraulic 4-piston brakes, wide range 9-speed transmission, and then of course new for 2021 is an integrated pannier rack that's color matched to really allow you to play into the accessories and be able to strap everything you need to take your adventure with you.
Very cool. And this looks like a bike that's designed to carry a lot. And I mean, in fact, we actually have a trailer attached to it right now. What's the load capacity of this rear rack?
So on our new bikes with the integrated rack, you're going to be able to put up to 100 pounds on the rear pannier rack, which is quite a lot of weight, a lot more than you're ever going to find in some of these strap-on or bolt-on versions. It's also specifically designed to be able to keep that load right centered over the top of the rear wheel, so it's going to be a lot easier to carry. I think a lot of you that have put a lot of weight on a bike can understand it can be real awkward, especially when you first get going. So we've specifically designed the shape and the placement of this rack to make it as easy as possible to handle the bike.
So you mentioned that this is your premium, the top of the line hardtail electric mountain bike that you guys make. What are you getting with this bike?
So what you're going to get out of here is our highest end component package. So you're going to get a nice fancy set of handlebars. You're going to get that 4-piston hydraulic brake as opposed to a mechanical brake. You're going to get that wide range 9-speed system. And you're also going to get an upgraded battery in the Apex. So it's a 14 up to 16 amp hour battery. It's going to give you a little bit more range. And then you're going to get some of the fancy stuff that we have here with the Apex, which is going to be just kind of that upgraded component package. And then of course the choice of either our limited edition 1500 watt motor, the 1000 watt motor, or the classified e-bike compliant 750 watt motor.
Very cool. And talk to me a little about those motors, because you guys are in that unique kind of niche category of e-bikes that caters towards hunters, people that are going overland into the backcountry. Talk to me about why you would need a 1000 or a 1500 watt mid-drive.
Sure. So one of our taglines is hunt, fish, camp, and explore. So the bike is really utility to, like I said, take your adventure with you. It's all about going into the backcountry and doing more than just going on a bike ride. So that utility really requires a little bit more oomph. So if we want to just go for a nice bike ride, that 250 watt motor that you'll find in a European e-bike is a wonderful choice. But when you're trying to haul a bunch of gear, trying to haul the trailer, the cooler, maybe you're bringing your camping gear, maybe you're bringing a bunch of stuff for a picnic with the family, you need a little bit more. So we actually specialize in the highest powers. So we build the 750 watt motor, so you do have a classified e-bike option, but we also have the 1000 watt and then the 1500 watt versions for those that don't need to be don't need that compliance requirement. Maybe they're riding on private land. Maybe they're riding in an area that's open to motorized vehicles. Or maybe they're on a place that just doesn't have those regulations in place yet. So where the road ends, the adventure continues when you have the high power and the utility out of the QuietKat.
Very cool. Now we're on the QuietKat Apex hardtail fat tire electric mountain bike. And man, I'm hardly pedaling. I'm in eco mode, not even on the highest setting. Hardly pedaling up this very large hill. Why is that? Because this is a unlimited e-bike. QuietKat is part of kind of a new breed of electric bike companies that are popping up, that are catering specifically to hunters. They actually got their start in the hunting crowd. But they also cater to kind of the backcountry enthusiast crowd, the folks that are trying to go places that would be difficult for a normal mountain bike, or really even a normal e-mountain bike. So this bike isn't designed for street use, even though I'm riding on the street right now. This is really designed for use on private land, places where you don't have the typical class or 3-class e-bike restrictions. And so it doesn't have the 750 watt limit. I'm not positive on the wattage of this mid-drive motor, but it's at least that much, if not more. In addition to that, I I'm not sure if it's speed limited. The throttle may go faster than 20 miles an hour. It's hard to say, but this is an unlimited bike from QuietKat. We're gonna, by this point in the video, you've already heard from the folks at QuietKat talking about this bike, and they're gonna get a little more into the details, but this is actually being filmed before we have that conversation, so I'm not totally clear on everything yet. What is clear is this is a pretty capable bike. So this Bafeng motor has a sport mode. We're currently in Eco. Eco is gonna save battery. Sport is gonna go a little bit quicker, drain the battery faster. So let's kick it up and give it a try. There's Sport. You access it by just holding down the plus for a few seconds on the touchpad, and it kicks over. The screen turns red. There's a little bit of a noticeable jump there in power. Let's kick up to PS5 and go up a few gears. Something this bike does, which is really, really important, especially considering how powerful this mid-drive is, and that it is transferring all of its torque through the drivetrain to the rear wheel, is when I shift, the torque sensor actually picks up that change, cuts the motor for a split second, allows the bike to shift under much less power. And what that does is it saves your chain, it saves your cassette, it saves your front chain ring, because this bike actually has enough power to bend those things if you're not careful. So that is a big safety feature that's kind of baked into this bike. Another huge deal about the QuietKat bikes is their forks. So they're one of the few e-bike companies, fat tire e-bike companies, or really bike companies in general that I know of that are utilizing a inverted fork design. So this is also commonly known as like a moto style fork. You know, if you're familiar with dirt bikes, their forks are reverse of what is on a typical mountain bike, where the stanchion, or the part that slides in and out of the fork and actually gives you suspension, is on the bottom attached to the wheel, and on a mountain bike is reverse of that. And what that does on this bike is it gives you a really, really stable, stiff, responsive, and stout front end, like remarkably so, and that's a big deal. This is a heavy bike. It's a really powerful bike. It's designed to go kind of into backcountry areas, unforgiving areas. Wow, this thing is really accelerating uphill. I'm soft pedaling. And that fork is going to be much more responsive, much more capable, and just give you a more stable front end. I mean, I come from a traditional mountain bike background and spent a lot of time racing bikes, and I know what it feels like when a fork starts to bend. You know, it's not a permanent thing, but it's kind of like a binding up. It stops working as well. The front end maybe tries to stand up. It's a handling issue. This bike doesn't really suffer from that. So that fork is a pretty big bonus. Handling wise, this thing's incredibly stable. Again, it's a hardtail. QuietKat does sell full suspension, and we actually have spent some time on that for the Big Gear Show. We have a separate video about that bike. But you know, this climbs just ultra efficiently, super comfortable going uphill. There's no sort of pedal bob that you get on the full suspensions, because obviously there is no suspension in the back. Really nice and pleasant climbing bike. If I stop pedaling and just hit the throttle, it just kind of does its own thing. It actually accelerated, which is kind of cool considering that we're going uphill. It's got wide set handlebars on it, stuff that you typically only see on like a traditional mountain bike. A lot of the fat tire e-bikes we test to kind of like narrower flat bars that you kind of see on like a commuter bike. But these wide bars are more stable on more technical, unpredictable terrain. Gives you a nice wide, kind of like a wide athletic stance if you ever played like Little League or hockey growing up. It's a much more aggressive riding position, even though I'm actually sitting very upright. Maybe a better way to say it is it's a riding position conducive towards more aggressive riding. The position itself is very comfortable. So we've been climbing this entire time. Battery's held up pretty well. I'm gonna flip around in the other direction. Open the bike up and see how it handles high speeds. This is the second QuietKat I've ridden today, actually back to back. So I'm really anticipating the front end to be very stable, very precise. So this is, I'm gonna outrun the cyclist behind me. Wow, there's that unlimited motor opening up. I just started soft pedaling in my highest gear, and it was still powering me at 30 miles an hour. So yeah, this is a very fast bike. What I was saying before is this is the second QuietKat that I've ridden today, and this fork is amazingly stable and precise. It's a very long and fast descent, and where we're at right now is very wide open. There's not no real corners that are going to push the bike, except this one right here is a big sweeper. But this fork, doesn't allow any sort of wallowing in the front end. Kind of a hallmark of a fat tire e-bike, especially at high speeds and corners, is you have so much rotational mass in the front end. You know, 4 inches of rubber, plus just kind of a very big stout rim. All that wants to stand up straight and spin, and it's the fork's job to turn it over, make it hold a line, and change direction. That's a tall order for a lot of fat bike forks, especially some of the narrower gauge ones that we see on more affordable bikes. This has got a much more stable handling characteristic at high speeds, which you kind of expect because this is outside the category of affordable, though this is probably one of the more affordable bikes QuietKat sells. Very comfortable carrying more speed into corners on this bike than some other fat tire e-bikes that I've tested that have less burly and less stable forks. So this is a first of two kind of aggressive switchbacks, a big 180-degree sweeper. I've only spent a little time on this bike, so I'm not quite gonna rail through corners like I maybe would if I was more pointed with it. But that was fast for an e-bike, and it felt like a scalpel, like it was very precise. Front end wasn't trying to stand up, I wasn't fighting a flexi fork. Just really great handling. Well-balanced bike. And here we are approaching the final switchback of this descent. It's receding radius, so it actually gets tighter as the corner goes. So I'm gonna employ some old road racing tactics. The Apex, off the brakes. Yeah, what a great bike. And if you've liked the Apex, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more notifications from videos just like this one from the big gear show here in Park City. If you want to know more about this bike, there's a link in our description below that's going to take you to a short write-up with a few more details about it. And Spinks, thank you so much for taking time with us today. I'm Sam Gross for electricbikereport.com. Thanks for watching.